Good evening and welcome to the bar. This season we're going to be trying a slightly different format, as I'm going to be taking you through the world of different mocktails. It'll be a blend of reviews and information about non-alcoholic spirits, mocktails of my own devising, and mocktails suggested by the community. Feel free to head on over to Twitter and tweet at Dr_Wilko to give me your ideas. I'm going to be spending less time talking about the history of the cocktails and the spirits involved, and more about how you go about adapting traditional cocktail recipes into mocktail form, as well as the more unique drinks you can make if you just try something new. Before I get started properly on this week's drink, I have to note that sangria is a protected term under EU law, so I think I might have to call my mocktail something like the Non-gria or something like that. The long and the short of it is that sangria can only be made within Spain and Portugal and be called sangria, otherwise it has to have another legal name. But here we're just trying to imitate that kind of drink with a non-alcoholic form. So let me whip up one of those refreshing drinks for you right away. Before you start making your cocktail, make sure to cut the fruit. You will need 1 medium pear, 1 pineapple, and 1 orange. Slice the orange thinly, and then halve to make thin semicircles. Cut half of the pear into roughly 1 centimetre cubed chunks. Cut half of the pineapple into cubes. If you haven't cut a pineapple before, you'll find it easier to work your way around the edge, removing the exterior, and then you can easily slice the middle. Take a pitcher and fill it with a full bottle of alcohol-free, aromatised red wine. Add the fruit to the alcohol-free red wine. Add about 250 millilitres of orange juice. And stir. Now, refrigerate for a few hours to allow the flavour to fully seep from the fruit into the drink. Or if you're in a rush and need a refreshing drink straight away, make sure to add a few ice cubes to your glass and serve. Now that you have that refreshing drink in hand, let's talk about it a little. I must admit I've started off with a rather simple mocktail here. There's not much you need to do to change the original recipe, although recipes for sangria are pretty varied depending on where you go in the Iberian Peninsula. When you're trying to blend together the ingredients to make a mocktail, you need to pay attention to whether it'll be sweeter or have similar flavours to the original drink, unless you're going entirely off script and making something unique. By using a de-alcoholized wine, we still get the flavour profile you would expect from a Merlot. There's a richness and a bitterness. While in a glass of its own, the lack of alcohol may be noticeable while you drink this, that disappears completely when you add in the orange juice. The sweetness of the juice cuts through the bitterness a bit, but you still have that overall bitterness as it comes originally from a red wine, and creates a very similar effect. A refreshing, cool drink you can drink on a spring or summer evening. And unlike with normal sangria, this one won't leave you with a headache if you have a glass too many. I hope you've enjoyed this slightly different take. I'll leave you to polish off that refreshing drink. Meanwhile, I've got to go off and do an interview for a slightly different episode next week. See you next time. Dr. Wilko's Campaign for Better Beverages is a production of Tinker Tailor Soldier Sponge Productions. It was researched, written and produced by Dr. Wilko. The mocktails were mixed and drunk by Dr. Wilko. The music was George Street Shuffle, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3 by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. You can support this podcast on Patreon via the show notes and the website, drwilko.org/Patreon.